Um, hey guys, it's Tim Liggins. Just finished training back and a little bit of biceps. Currently, right now, I am 5'8" and about 233, 34 this morning. I started out with some back today, so again, when I'm getting close to competitions, I may train some things a little bit more frequently, or just kind of go by feel and if I feel recovered or not. So training back maybe every 5 days or so. So started out with some pull downs. Typically with pull downs, I always start with them at the very least as a warm up, because I just like how I get a good stretch, and it leads me into whatever my first back movement is. Today decided to actually work up and weight and do some working sets. So we did a few warm ups and then got to working set weight and did a few sets there. Got a lot of blood in there and kind of set us up for the second movement. From there we went to rows. Did it on the T-bar row. So the version of it has kind of become more popular with John Meadows. He named it. So I definitely want to give credit to John. It's a Meadows row kind of adaptation that he does, and I've tried it a little bit recently, and I like it because as opposed to a dumbbell, I feel like there's a little bit more control. I can control the movement a little bit more, but at the same time get a good stretch. And the way that I can grip the end of the bar allows me to have a pretty loose grip with my V straps, that I actually can just really pull with my elbows and get a good squeeze. So I'm not so much worried about holding the weight and my grip getting tired as much as I can just focus on getting my elbows up high, squeezing and contracting my back. So that's the reason why I like to do that as a variation to a typical dumbbell row. From there we moved on to the high hammer rows. I like to grip the outside grips of the handle a little bit. I like to stretch a little bit more, and I feel it doing a little bit a wider version of that. The way I had the seat, the intention was for me to squeeze kind of my middle to upper back, and so that was really the intention of hitting that part of my back. And again, not super heavy, trying to keep the chest against the pad and really getting your elbows back. So getting a good stretch, lengthening the muscle, and then shortening it up as much as possible, getting the elbows back, but at the same time pulling your chest forward. So that was our next movement. From there we went to a superset with seated cable rolls combined with the cable pull downs or pullovers. And so the variation that I do on the cable rolls, especially towards the end of a workout, is instead of putting your feet high up on the platform and really going heavy, either having your feet planted on the floor or having them really low on the platform. And that really allows you to kind of take the leg drive out of it, takes kind of the lower back movement out of it, so you're really just isolating and squeezing your back. So the weight on this is not so much of an issue. It's more about getting a good contraction and a good squeeze. And so then combining that with the cable pull downs just allows me to just pump as much blood into the muscle as possible. At that point in the workout, we've already done a few movements, and so it's more about contraction and continuing to get blood into the muscle, as opposed to trying to move the weight, a really heavy weight at that point. From there, we did some shrugs. Shrugs I usually throw in either with back or with shoulders. This week, threw them in with back. So did a dumbbell shrugs, which I do every so often. I hadn't done them in a while, so I threw those in. And as you see in there, I'm doing some holds at the top, maybe a one or two second contraction at the top for at least the first several reps. And so again, I like doing a little bit higher reps on those as opposed to 6, 8, 10 reps and just kind of a really explosive shrug. I like to actually control the weight the whole time, and it tends to work better for me. I feel it better doing it that way. So that was the method behind that. And then we finished up with Smith machine deadlifts. Really, it was mainly meant for contraction, kind of like a hyperextension as a variation to that. So the weight was pretty light, so it wasn't so much like a rack deadlift, which I will do maybe every other week. It was more for just really squeezing and contracting your lower back. And so, not going really over 2 plates on it, but nice controlled movements at the top, squeezing the elbows back, and just at that point, it's just finishing off. So that was the last movement for back. From there, we moved on to some biceps. Biceps, I usually throw in a couple movements on back day, and then I also may do back or bis and tris by themselves on a different day. But for today, we started out with just the the one-arm preacher curl machine. I like to start out with that just because I like to do kind of a unilateral movement, really warm up each arm. And so did a few warm-up sets and then did 1 or 2 working sets before we moved on to the next movement, which was the incline dumbbell curls. Another variation of dumbbell curls, I tend to do standing quite a bit, so mixing it up, doing the incline and actually doing both arms at the same time was just different variation today. So I didn't need a lot of weight, again, just because of the isolation that you get when you're leaning back. You're not able to cheat, you're not able to get any momentum, so it's all about just squeezing and contracting the muscle, and you get a great stretch from that angle as well. I switched it up after a couple sets and did a set of standing dumbbell curls, but the variation for me from what I typically do is the fact that I brought, as I'm bringing up and contracting, I actually bring my elbow up a little bit higher and get a really hard contraction at the very top, and then start to release the weight even before I lower the weight. So it's like stretching it out at the top, which just keeps constant tension on it the whole time. So a really hard squeeze at the top, and then start to let it out slowly before I actually lower the weight down. Again, not a lot of weight needed for that, just because of the fact that you're really keeping that tension and you're really keeping a hard contraction the whole time. So when I do buys after biceps, they're already a little bit pre-exhausted, so I tend to do more contraction work on those days anyway, as opposed to some of the traditional, maybe like the barbell curls or the heavier dumbbell curls, just because at that point I've already pre-exhausted biceps from a little bit from back as well. And then we moved on to cable curls, and so just hitting the outer biceps with those. Sometimes I do them dumbbells, sometimes I do cable. Today we did cables with the ropes, and so again, it's just making sure I get a good stretch, and then going up to about where they're I guess about that 90-degree angle roughly. I don't go up too high on those, but so that was pretty much it for today. Again, when I throw in buys after back, it's just try to get a good pump and get a good squeeze and get some blood in the biceps, more so than the fact that I just got some in from doing back training. So that was what we did today.
What was your last show, Tim? You did last year, right?
Last show for me was North Americans last Labor Day weekend, and I did the over 35 class, and I placed third in the light heavyweights. I dropped down from previously. I did the Masters Nationals earlier that year, and I was a heavyweight and placed fifth. But basically my weight, I was at 200 pounds on stage, and so I realized that it was probably in my best interest, based on how my physique was looking that year, to drop down a couple pounds and go into the light heavyweight class. So I did a little bit better. This year I've been able to train as I've been healthier compared to last year, injury-free, and so I feel like I'm more naturally a heavyweight this year. So my plan will be, as I'm going into Masters Nationals here in about 3 weeks, to be back in the heavyweight class, but come in as a more legitimate heavyweight and come in a little bit bigger and fuller than I did last year, so I can hopefully be more competitive.
Was there anything you targeted this year, like any muscle groups that you wanted to bring up, or was it just an overall mass? Or?
Well, I think the big thing for me was I wanted to be healthy. I had a slight tear in my rotator cuff that happened kind of right before my contest prep last year, so that definitely affected my ability to train, as hard as I wanted to for really all of last year. So I took my time and came back slowly, and so I've been healthy for the majority of the off season and for this whole prep. So probably the biggest change from last year is that I've been able to train hard and more intense. And so I think the results from that are that I've been able to put some of the size back on and then definitely maintain it as I've been dieting. So that will probably be the primary change. I'm always trying to continue to bring up my back and legs and target some of those areas that I think I always need to improve on. But overall, it was just being healthy and being able to train hard consistently every week.
Okay. Anyone you'd like to thank, buddy?
Well, definitely. You gotta. My whole support team. It's a lot of people. Definitely that wish me well and have supported me over the years. Getting a chance to continue to collaborate with a good friend of mine, Ken Jackson, IFBB Pro. He's getting ready for his first pro show of the year in about 5 weeks. So he's always been a great support for me. But really, all my team in Kalamazoo, in Detroit, and it's just been it's great. It's one of those things where, even people that you don't always know, you see in the gym, they wish you well, they ask you how you doing. I never take that for granted, because you never know, how somebody's feeling on any given day. So someone might pick me up just by saying, hey, good luck in whatever you're doing. So it's thanking people sometimes that you don't even know, because you go through this grind and everything, and we love to do it, but sometimes we're tired, sometimes we're not feeling the greatest, but we stand up there by ourselves ultimately. But it's a team sport, in the sense that you need people around you, you need support, you need people that have your back in order for you to be successful in the sport. So for all those people that I know and all those that I don't know that support me, I appreciate it, and I plan to go out there and do well.
Okay, well, good luck, man. Hopefully you snag one of those cards and come back a pro.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.